Hello and welcome. What the fuck? We'll just restart that. Blip, 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 blip. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Three's a Crime, a true crime podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lindsey.
And that's our intro.
Here we are professional podcasters.
We're podcasters, bitches. Watched Miss Potter the other night, which is about Beatrix Potter, who wrote Peter Rabbit and
Oh,
all those different children's books, and it was really cute. But I was like, oh, I want to live in her little drawings. They're so pretty, and like where she bought a country house. She's actually a pretty badass bitch, Beatrix Potter. That's not what we're here to talk about today. So if you want to buzz me,
okay.
So, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Bryce Laspisa?
Can I see it?
Laspisa. Laspisa.
Laspisa.
Laspisa.
Bryce Pizza.
I thought for a
Bryce
long
loves
time it
pizza.
was
Bryce loves pizza.
Laspia. It's Laspisa.
Did you like Google, like YouTube it to see if you could hear anybody else pronounce it?
Well, that's how they say it in like the Morbid podcast, Bryce Laspisa. And there's an episode of Disappeared.
So obsessed with Morbid. Please,
I am.
Ash and Elena, can one of you please acknowledge that Emily exists? I don't care. I mean, like, shoot us a message, or if you guys ever want to collaborate.
Want them to say, like, I don't even want them to say they listen. I just want them to say, "Hi, Emily," and then my life will be
I
complete.
know. Like, you don't care if
I
they
don't give a
like
fuck.
us or
I don't
listen to
know.
us
Yeah,
or ever
no.
collaborated with us. You just want them
Love them.
to acknowledge your existence.
You know
So
why-
please,
Do you want to know why
Ash
I
and Elena.
love their podcast? Is because Elena is an autopsy technician and Ash is a hairstylist. Elena is just like she's very like
Elena's like
put
me.
together adult.
Elena is the talent.
And Ash is like me.
Yeah.
Where she's just like
And nobody,
loud and
nobody is like our Lindsey.
Nobody's like our Lindsey.
She's
That's right.
one in a million.
Yes.
But I really do. I like the morbid obsession is
It's
like
so
it's
real.
it's a real thing.
It's because when I first heard it, I just binged it because I was doing house projects. I was
Right.
like painting my living room and
And
stuff.
don't get me wrong, I listen to them every week. I think that they're
yeah.
fabulous.
I love them.
I think that they're absolutely fabulous.
They're
and I
great,
think
yeah.
that we would be like friends because we have very similar
Yeah.
sensibilities.
Yeah.
I
That's
also
right.
listen to Going West, which is a couple, Heath and Daphne, and I love them.
Mm.
They're really good. They're
I've
really,
listened to
really
a little
good.
bit of it.
And I enjoy there's the mic. I really enjoy listening to them because they have now been around long enough and have a catalog and have patrons and all of that. And like they list their patrons at the end of the episodes and they're like, thanks. And then they read like 50 names and I'm like, hot damn. But they have made it to the point now where it is their full-time jobs. And I think that's definitely, I mean, that's where we would like to get to. We're not trying to make all the money in the world, but we'd like to make enough that we
I'd
could
like to
all
pay
live
my
on.
electricity bill, please. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
we'd like to be able to pay our bills. We would like to be able to focus on this.
I
like,
technically stepped down from my job to do this.
you did, and
She
like
did.
Emily basically is doing this as a full-time job and just not
Technically, yeah.
getting paid for it. And then,
Yeah.
I told Michael that I'm like, I'm just kind of like not really making money. Like I am, but like not, and it's fine.
we're
Like, it's
making
fine.
an investment in ourselves.
Yes.
But unfortunately, since I'm the single one, I like still have to work my muggle job, and it's
Well, we
hard.
started this to be, I mean, even though obviously we want it to like go far, and I think
It was really just a
I
hobby
can
thing.
speak for all three of us when I say this has kind of been a lot more fun than I thought it would be.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Yeah.
see this going away.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of us want to stop. And
No.
we had made this plan like we're just gonna
We're just gonna
gonna
try it out.
record every other weekend and we'll just get back. And then it's like, are we recording this week? And then the
Every
weeks that
weekend
we don't,
we're like, can we get together? Can we get together? Do you guys have a story? Can we talk?
not to mention that we literally text each other all day,
all day,
every
All day,
day,
every
until
day.
we go to bed.
Yeah.
from the
It's
time we
kind
get
of
up to the gym.
crazy.
We might
love
have
it.
a little posse going here.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
love it.
I was actually just telling Bryn yesterday. I was like, I feel like I haven't done a podcast in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's been 2.
I know. I was telling.
said,
I was thinking
yeah.
this morning. The last time I saw you guys was at the hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So it was one weekend that we didn't record and we were still
together, and we were all like, whoa.
Like forever together.
And we want to take trips. Like we were talking about
Yes,
in our
trips.
shooting the shit show that like we want to go to Portland and check out these Shanghai tunnels. And like it really is, I mean, there's definitely a paranormal aspect to it, but that's very true crime. Like people were being
Yeah.
kidnapped and murdered and
We
sold.
should probably tour the Spokane. I just realized I was like, maybe we should tour Spokane's
Yeah.
haunts.
Yeah,
in
no, absolutely.
the
And if you're in
underworld.
Spokane and you know particularly haunted places you want, haunted or true crime related places you want us to check out that are places we can go, like, don't be like, you should go to Yates' house. Well, somebody lives there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we can't do that. We can't go to the haunt house because the people that live there don't really want people poking
You
around.
feel this. I wanted to vomit when I stood in front of their house.
Yeah, she did not.
I wasn't. It's not
she-
close either. I wanted to vomit.
Yeah, she got some serious vibes from the haunt house,
just
which
wafts, just gross.
Which I'm just like, I loved it. I'm like, I want to get in there, but
I mean,
know,
I'd go
very-
in there, of course.
She's like, don't be stupid. I'm
But
obvious.
I would be like the
want to be
lady
there.
on fucking
yeah, with all
Ghost
the
Adventures. I'll just have all
Yes.
of the crystals on me.
My God, I thought I just like snapped my iPad in half. Fuck
Oh.
you, Emily.
Emily's
God.
having a
Oh, dude,
real
me
rough day.
And
What is happening?
technology.
oh my god, you guys are the worst.
Why?
I don't know. Ooh. Brianna is taking care of our order today. Today we are ordering food from Molly's Garden.
We've never been there, but
We
they
have not ever been there.
wraps and salads. Super simple, which is good for my brain.
Yeah, we I have to be really careful about what I eat right now.
Because her
until
gallbladder hates her.
It does.
It's full of
And
anger.
if you've ever had gallstones, you will know that they are extraordinarily painful and unhappy.
So we've done like ooky spooky paranormal. We've done obviously like murder. We've done a serial killer of Yates, and this is a disappearance case.
Ooh.
Bryce Laspisa
Bryce likes pizza.
Listening.
likes pizza. He was born April 30th of 1994.
Baby.
God. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yes.
What year were you born?
93.
Whoa.
Oh.
So he was the only child of nope. Michael and Karen. Mikan was apparently their name as a couple. I just
Mikan.
decided.
Yeah.
Michael and Karen Laspisa. And he was born and raised in Illinois. There's not like a ton known about his childhood. It seemed like fairly normal. In high school, he was a good student, playing baseball and football. He graduated high school in 2012. I graduated in 2011.
Oh my God.
I know.
Babies.
The family moved across the country to California. He seemed to adjust to life in California without any problems. They moved to Laguna Niguel, is what it was called. He was a really good artist. He, at this point in Laguna Niguel, he was going to Sierra College in Rocklin, California, which I think was like 7 hours away from where his parents lived. So close, but not close kind of deal. He was majoring in graphic and industrial design at Sierra College. His youth was uneventful, and he was showered with love and support as an only child.
My
God. Just like a normal teenage kid, right? He was charismatic and friendly. Everyone said he had the ability to instantly put people at ease. And when you see him, he's like very recognizable. He was like a super redhead, like fire red hair.
Gingers.
Ginger to the extreme. He
Right,
actually
I'm
looks like
Googling
my
him.
cousin, which creeps me out a little bit.
Oh my god, he is.
And he has like bright
fire
blue
red hair.
eyes. But he just has like a nice
Aw,
face.
He
Let me see.
does.
Yeah, he's just like a
He just
sweet
looks like
looking
a sweet kid.
Aw.
He's like a cutie patootie, and he just
Yeah.
looks like a nice kid. Yeah.
He's a kid that probably burns in the sun.
Oh, 1,000%. Bro,
Yeah.
I feel you, my
Yeah.
friends. I feel you.
Oh.
At Sierra College, he met his girlfriend Kim Sly. He was always a good kid, typical teenager in college. His parents knew that like he probably drank a little bit, smoked like a little bit of weed, and they just knew, that's like what,
It's
Experiment.
part of
that's what
growing-
you do in college. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. I got arrested at a frat party and I got so pissed because I'm like, the state police like targeted the party. And I was just like, this is what you're supposed to do in college.
They're
I
like,
just
you're
felt like it
supposed to
was so
study in
wrong.
college. You're like, no, I'm just kidding.
Like, no, you're
Like,
not.
no,
you're
you're
supposed
not.
to go to frat
I'm pretty
parties.
sure-
And I hid and I should have just stayed where I was, but I went back for my stupid friend and the state police was like, you
Good job
out
for not
here.
leaving your friend.
I
though.
know. That was
Yeah.
actually really funny. They gave me a breathalyzer and the police officer was like, okay, I'm going to need you to blow right here. And or first he said, do you have anything in your mouth? And I was like, no. And then he said, I'm going to explain to you how this works. But I didn't understand what he was saying. And so I thought he was like, I thought he was challenging me that I had something in my mouth. So I stood there and went, and I opened my mouth real wide. And then he was like, I'm going to explain to you how this works. And so I'm like blowing into it, like, and then he's like, you're gonna have to blow harder than that. So I was like, and it was like, beep, 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 beep.
Oh my God.
And then he said I was so drunk that he made campus security and like I wasn't. Like I was not.
Are you sure, Miss?
I really
mouth
no.
open, mouth agape.
She's like, into the breathalyzer.
I wasn't like. I mean, definitely I'd had a few beers, but I wasn't like wasted.
You weren't
You weren't
trashed.
I know. I
state
could have walked
wasted?
home.
Probably
totally
shouldn't have been
fine.
driving, but like,
Yeah,
Were
could have
you
walked
Eric
home.
State
Like
wasted?
wasn't like the school that I went to at the time was not huge, and yeah. So that was my story.
Oh my God.
well, they're like, yeah, he's tried pot a few times. I'm sure he probably drinks sometimes, whatever. They didn't endorse it, obviously, but they're
Right.
like realistic parents. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was super close to his parents. So much so, I like at the end of his freshman year of college, he went home to Laguna, which was about 465 miles south of the college that he went to spend the summer. I feel like I read somewhere and then I couldn't find it that he worked on like an uncle's farm and just did like that kind of thing. He did, however, spend the summer. He took an English class at a local college. The fall semester started on August 26, 2013. In case you're wondering, my anniversary is August 27th of 2015.
Whoa. Brendan's birthday is August 22nd.
There's a hole in my pants.
All right, you need new clothes. Please be a Patreon.
So we can buy Emily new pants.
Buy pants that don't have holes.
It's probably from a dog claw.
I think it's time to use that.
Okay, fall semester started August 26, 2013. Bryce had attended 2 classes that day. He called his mom, Karen. He's like, hey, these classes are super great. Super love them. Learning a bunch. Whatever kids say to their mom.
In a bunch.
As far as his mom was concerned, the conversation was totally normal. He seemed excited about school. And they had said when he was there in the summer, he was like looking forward to going back to school. And he had gone back 2 weeks before classes started. August 27th, this... I said, is where things start to get like really, 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 really weird. That night, he went to his girlfriend's house. And actually, before he drove to his girlfriend's house, he broke up with her, which is just kind of like a douche move. Don't
Wow.
text break up with people. Friends or boyfriends should not text break up with people.
No, you take them to Taco Bell or to Wendy's. You get them a meal.
Yeah.
And then
no.
drop him off.
And then you
And then
drop
you
them
drop 'em off,
off.
like,
And
you at
then
least
as
feed
you're
them.
you're as you're exiting, they're exiting your vehicle. You're like, hey, so
Bye.
Peace out. See you later.
that's your parting gift.
Yes. Apparently, his girlfriend had been texting him and she was just like, hey, are you okay? Like, I've been, had like weird vibes. And that's when he apparently sent her a text that was along the lines of like, you like apparently deserve better than me. So like, let's just be done. And she's like, are you breaking up with me? What the fuck is happening? And he's like, yeah, I'm breaking up with you. She's like, okay. So he ends up going to her apartment that night. I'm assuming to talk about it because she was like, what the fuck? You don't break up with me in a text message.
Yeah.
So he went to Kim's house in Chico, which Sierra College is about an hour and a half drive. Sierra College is about an hour and a half drive from Sierra College. I'm going to assume it's Chico is about an hour and a half drive from Sierra College. in Rockland.
So hour and a half. So they were basically kind of doing like a long distance
Yeah.
thing.
Because he was in college and
She was
he
an hour
lived
and a
on
half away.
campus, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So he drove an hour and a half away. While he was there, his girlfriend Kim was like, okay, well, now you're acting like super, super weird. She was like, there were just weird vibes. I don't really know. I just kind of got like, he was just acting weird and erratic and just strange.
Which sounds contradictory to his mood and earlier in the day when he was talking to his mom.
Correct.
Okay.
She knew that he had been drinking a bunch, and they actually interviewed his roommate who said that he was drinking 1 to 2 fifths every weekend.
That's just a lot of alcohol.
It's a lot of booze.
It's a lot.
And then he's just like, well, it's like he was just binging on the weekend. Like, I
It
don't
makes
even
me like sick to my stomach to think
I,
about
like,
that much vodka or that
I
much
don't even think I
tequila or
could
something.
drink a fifth
No,
by
not-
myself, let alone 1 to 2.
Yeah, especially when I was drinking back in the day.
Back in the day.
I don't think I drink that.
No,
Ever.
I've
That's a
never
lot.
drink that much.
That's a lot. Today, though, he was acting especially weird. And she finally, after like hounding him forever, she finally got him to admit that he had taken somebody else's prescribed ADHD medication, Vyvanse. Vyvanse is an amphetamine-based narcotic. It's a super, super potent stimulant, and the effect on a person, the effect it has on a person is similar to that of methamphetamine.
Okay.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
some serious stuff. That was funny. Last night, I went to see Whitney Cummings was here in Spokane, and when she was opening up, she's like, "Yeah, Spokane," da, 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 and she starts talking about it, and she's like, "Why do you guys have a reputation for meth?" She's like, "Everybody sounds like you guys sound like we're all on meth."
We're the
And
meth capital of the country.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
opening guy too was like, "What's up, Spokane Stan?" And he was like,
Spoke-
everybody, because he was like, "Do you guys call it that?" Because everybody outside of here, because he was from Portland, he said everybody
I've
outside.
never heard it
Ugh,
called Spokanistan.
I have.
No?
I hate it.
I've heard Spokompton. I've never heard
Right.
Spokanistan.
I
Yeah.
hate Spokanistan. I think so stupid.
It sounds terrible.
I don't
oh
like
my
it.
God. Anyone around us, will you tell us if do people call
I've
it that?
never. Yeah.
Have we been called a name like we're in school and we get like bullied the whole time, but we're the only
We don't
assholes
know,
who don't
yeah.
know that we're getting bullied the whole
I
time?
have seen T-shirts at Boo Radley's that say Spokanistan, but I've
Oh,
never
yeah.
heard anybody call it. But I am from Pennsylvania, and they call it Pennsyltucky.
She got him. Ooh, Lord, bitch.
She got him, Lord bitch.
Sorry.
Oh Lord.
So Vyvanse
Amphetamine.
and yeah,
Like
Vyvanse
meth.
has become a popular recreational drug on many college campuses because it provides an energy boost that allows the user to go without any sleep for an extended period of
See,
time.
and that's what I was talking about
Yeah.
before we found out that we were having some audio
Yeah.
problems. That
Seriously.
I think any ADHD medication is really popular on college campuses because
Yeah.
you can just work and work and work and work and work, and it helps keep you focused, even if you might make your heart feel like it's gonna be out of your chest.
Explode.
Not that I would know from any personal experience
Legal speed.
in graduate school.
Anyway, so Bryce had ended up telling his girlfriend Kim that he and a friend had stayed up all night playing video games, and they took Vyvanse to stay up all night.
Well,
to play
he
video
wasn't
games.
even studying.
No. So his girlfriend naturally is concerned, right? She's
Yeah.
like, you drink like a shit ton of alcohol every weekend, and now you're like taking someone else's prescription
Right.
to play video games all night. Like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
But he didn't seem to think it was a big deal. Around 11 p.m. that night, Bryce actually called his mom from Kim's apartment in Chico because Kim was like, hey, man, you're acting super weird and like I'm worried and I don't think you should be driving. And so she took his keys like a good person, even though he broke up with her.
Right.
She
Yeah.
was like, something is weird. I'm really worried about you driving. I'm taking your keys. So Bryce calls his mom and is like, hey, she won't take my keys, or she won't give me my keys. Tell her to give me my keys back.
Come on, me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not that I'm making fun
Oh
of the victim.
no.
It just kind
But
of,
yeah.
but yeah, I
like-
can imagine he's like, Mom, I'm trying to leave. She won't give me my fucking keys back. And his mom is probably just like, oh my God, this is completely, oh my God,
Right.
ridiculous.
Like, what do you want me to do about that?
So Kim took his car keys away, begged that he get some sleep before attempting to drive home. Bryce was like, no, I want to leave. I want my keys back. He was telling his mom, like, hey, can you talk to her? Tell her to give me my fucking keys back. So he gives the phone to Kim, and the mom is like, he sounds okay. He sounds fine. And at this point, he did. Like, to her, he
Mhm.
sounded okay.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, he seems to be fine. Just give him his car keys. Like, let him drive home.
And I feel bad for the girlfriend because she's like, I'm the
Trying to
one
be
here
like a
and
responsible
seen
Yeah.
adult.
him. And I mean, because let me just tell you, moms out there, if this happens to you, if a guy has just broken up with you, the last thing you want him to be is in your house.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want him as far away from you as possible so that you can cry and then talk about what a dick he is
Yeah.
to your girlfriends. You
Yeah.
don't want him staying in your house high on methamphetamine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The weird thing was, this was not the first call that his parents had received from a friend of Bryce's. So earlier this same fucking day, his roommate called his mom and said, hey, he's acting super fucking weird. And I don't know what the deal is, but I'm worried. And his mom was like, he was just here 2 weeks ago. He seemed totally
That's
fine.
2 weeks.
That's 2
ago.
weeks. And if you, okay, so now that puts a whole new spin on things because it's like I could see the mom being like, okay, this is his now ex-girlfriend. She doesn't want him to
Being
leave.
dramatic
Like being
and
dramatic,
"Meh,
let
not
him
gonna take
leave.
your keys."
But if this is the second person in the same day within the span of a few hours that has said to you, I'm worried about your kid, would you not take that second one a little more seriously? And like, okay, don't give him his keys, but put him in a cab
Yeah.
and send him home. We'll pay for it. Or, something.
That's weird.
Oh, I
Oh,
don't like it
God.
already.
So this is the second time in the same day. But after speaking with Karen, Kim gave Bryce his car keys. She's like, I guess you're going to leave. So he leaves around 11:30 p.m. The following morning, Karen and Michael, his parents, they saw that they had a missed call from Bryce at 1 a.m. And they're like, he probably was just calling to say like, hey, he got home because he was headed home an hour and a half away to his apartment. However, Bryce's parents also got an automated message that there had been roadside assistance in Buttonwillow, California. And the roadside assistance was placed for one of their vehicles for $20 in gas.
Okay, so where is Butthole in
Buttonwillow.
Buttonwillow in relation to Chico and where he was in school?
Literally the next bullet point.
Okay.
Buttonhole.
Butthole.
You try to make this
God damn it,
conversational,
I'm
and these
sorry, I'm
bitches
sorry, I'm
get
sorry,
just
I'm
jump
sorry.
right down your throat.
So, Buttonwillow.
I ruined it, didn't I?
Yeah.
I hate you so much.
I just hear butthole willow.
Butthole Willow.
Butthole Willow. I apologize to anybody who's from Buttonhole, California. Buttonhole? Button Willow. Butthole Willow. I don't even know. I don't even remember anymore, but California, we love you. Butthole?
Buttonwillow.
Button Willow, California. I
Yeah.
apologize.
So, Bryce's parents got an automated message, roadside assistance, $20 in gas in Buttonwillow, which is 350 miles south of Kim's apartment, which I Googled, by the way. It is a 5-hour drive from Chico, California.
No.
I wrote, holy fuck, that's a long way to drive for funsies.
Wait a minute. He
was supposed to drive an hour and a half.
Right, back to
his house, his apartment on the college
but
campus.
Buttonwillow is 5 hours. So he went 5 hours in the wrong.
South.
Yeah, he went in the wrong direction.
Correct.
So he
For
was
5
not
hours.
intending to go home, or did he?
Apparently not.
You don't know.
I
Or did he
don't know.
get lost? Okay. But I'll be like, I should probably turn around, and then I'm like, oh, but I don't know. Where do I turn around at? And so I just kind of keep
Okay,
going
so maybe
until
that was actually
know.
a thought that I hadn't even thought of, that maybe he did go the wrong direction. He had only been in school for a year and drove home for the summer. I don't know how many times you make that drive back and forth. And I Googled it. I Googled from Chico to Butthole. He went 350 miles south from her apartment.
And nobody has any idea why he would go that way.
No.
We'll need to post graphics of like.
Yeah, I have a picture of the map. He just went right along the California coastline where he should have gone more into the middle of California-ish, but instead he just went. They called Bryce's roommate and they're like, hey, what the fuck? Did he come home last night? And he's like, no, he did not come home. So at this point, the parents are like, okay, that's weird, but maybe he's driving home to Laguna Niguel, which is about 2 more hours south of Buttonwillow. So he was basically on the track to head to his home house.
Okay, so that total 500 miles would have been about, what, a 7-8 hour trip?
Yeah.
8 hour trip?
Yeah.
Okay.
Karen, his mother, tries to reach him on his cell phone over and over again. Doesn't answer. She's like, what the fuck? So they end up looking online, smart, and find the auto shop, the auto car I don't know if it was a gas station or a little shop or what, but they find the place that delivered the $20 in gas. And they learned that Bryce had called roadside assistance around 9 o'clock in the morning, which meant that Bryce must have taken a nonstop drive through the night to get from Kim's house to here. So he's been up all night driving, as far as we know.
And up all night the night before playing video games.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're talking like 36
A lot
to
of
40.
hours.
Yeah.
Christian, who is the employee who answered the call, told Karen that Bryce had gotten as far as the Buttonwillow rest area before running out of gas, and that he had gone this morning, and delivered 3 gallons of gas to him around 9:30 in the morning.
So it was 9:30 in the morning when the AAA or the roadside guy.
9 the call was made. 9:30 he made it to the car with the gas.
Okay. So, but I'm just, what time did he leave the girlfriend's house?
11:30 p.m.
So he got to the rest stop and then was at the rest stop all night and then only called at night. Like, did he sleep in his car?
I don't know.
Because that's not, the time doesn't add up there, right? If he left his girlfriend's at 11
Left it at 11:30.
and he had driven
350 miles.
So
from
that would
11
have him
that put him there at
4:30 in the morning.
4:30 in the morning.
So we don't know what he did between 4:30 in the morning and 9 a.m.
No.
Okay.
So Christian, who is the employee who answered the call, who's a fucking saint, this man deserves a day in his honor, because holy fuck, Christian's a good fucking guy. Okay. So they call, Christian's like, yeah, I'm the one who went there at 9:30. Karen's like, okay, cool. I haven't been able to get a hold of him for like hours now. And he's like, yeah, I'll drive back there and I'll go see if he's there. And she's like, okay, thank God. Because again, she's 3 hours away at this point. It had been almost 3 hours since the roadside assistance call. So at this time, it's
11:30.
11:30, yeah.
No, 12:30. 3 hours. 12:30.
I don't know. So he saw he saw him at 9:30, but at this point it was 12:30. And so he's like, okay, yeah, I'll go check on him, but he's like probably not gonna be there, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I went and put gas in his car. He probably went.
He
back,
probably
yeah.
went to where he was going. When he arrived, he was still sitting in his car in the exact same spot that he was 3 hours ago.
But he was in the vehicle.
He was in the vehicle.
Or someone was in the vehicle.
So Karen finally spoke with Bryce around 12:30. She was super confused. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's kind of just like being weird. And he's just like, I don't know. I just like trying to like blow off some steam. Like, whatever. I don't know. And he would just be really vague. What he did say, however, was that when he saw his parents next, he had a lot to tell them, but he couldn't tell them over the phone.
No.
Since Bryce is only about 3 hours away from Laguna Niguel, Karen decided that she's like, okay, well, you're being super weird, but like, just come home. There's obviously something wrong. Like, drive home, fill up your gas tank. We'll figure it out when you get here. And she would expect to see him around 3:00 p.m. 3:00 came and went. 3:30 came and went. And they tried calling him. They're like, what the fuck? You were supposed to be here 3:00. Like, what the fuck is going on? And they keep calling. He won't answer. They're like, maybe he's stuck in traffic somewhere, right? Like, it's a 3-hour drive. I don't know.
But if you're stuck in traffic, you have nothing to do but answer the phone.
Right. 4:00 came and went. 5:00. At 6 p.m., they're worried that he might have gotten into a car accident. They're like, something's got to be seriously wrong. They call the police. The first thing that they did was they called Bryce's cell phone provider and have them ping his phone to see if they could come up with his location.
Right.
So they ping his phone. And at this point, it's been 10 hours since he made the initial 9:00 call to roadside assistance for gas. Bryce was still in Buttonwillow in his car 8 miles away.
What the fuck?
But he drove 8
miles.
8 miles and stayed.
In 10 hours. 10 hours passed and he drove 8 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. So
had he refueled at any point, or is he still
Yeah,
with the 3
so- no, it
gallons?
said when she was like, hey, just come home. You're supposed to be home at 3. She said, fill up your gas tank and just head home. So she assumes he's gone and filled up his gas tank.
Right.
Maybe he did, and then that's where he went, and then just, I don't fucking know. So once they learned Bryce's location, 2 Kern County deputies were dispatched to check on him. He had filled up his gas tank like his mother instructed, but rather than get on Interstate 5, he had just like parked near it. So he never even got on the freeway.
So maybe just whatever he had to tell them was so awful he didn't want to go home.
He was in a psychosis,
That too.
but no sleep drugs. I don't know. There's more though, probably.
When deputies arrived, he was polite. He was cooperative. He told them he was just trying to blow off steam. Same thing that he told his mom. He's like, I'm just trying to blow off steam. Just want to, whatever. Just chilling before I drive home. They gave him a field sobriety test. He easily passed it. He said that they're welcome to search his car. Didn't find anything. No drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, nothing like that. Before they let him go on his way, they're like, dude, your mom's freaking the fuck out. You need to call her. And he is like, I really don't want to. And they're like, well, too fucking bad. We're grown-ups and you're a teenager. You need to fucking call your mom and tell her that you're alive. And so one of the police actually like took his cell phone and like called his mom and was like, talk to your fucking mom. The police officer also talked to his mom saying, yeah, he passed a field sobriety test. He appears to be fine. We're not worried about his mental state, no intoxication. We're not worried about his state being able to drive. This is where I'm saying that, like, I'm not a parent and I don't want to say, like, I would do something in a situation that I'm not in. But I feel like 3 incidences ago, I would have been like, where are you? I'm coming to get you.
Yes.
Yeah, I would be there.
It just, if any one of you did that, if you were like in the middle of fucking nowhere and you were like, 2 people were like, oh my God, something I think is seriously wrong with Lindsey, I'd be like, well, where is she? Like,
Yeah.
let's go find her
yeah.
and bring her. Like, what the fuck? So it's weird to me that he's been seen there now 3 times and his mom is just like, just come, or
And the
however many,
parents
just come home,
haven't.
just like come home.
But it's also weird that everybody that talks to him
Says
is
he's
like,
fine.
he seems coherent and fine, and we're not worried about his mental state. Like, he was
Yeah.
well enough to at least act fine.
So this somewhat reassures his mom. She spoke briefly with Bryce saying, you need to get yourself something to eat and get back on the road. Again, okay, here's the other thing. The police are there, and like, I don't understand why I shouldn't be talking about the mom, but like, fuck, can't you be like, can you like take, like, I don't know, take him back to the fucking station, put him in a cell, and I'll be there in 2 hours. I don't know. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
can we like not just leave him by himself for 10 more hours where he's just gonna fucking sit in his car and think
Well,
about
I
life
don't think,
and death?
but you know, if he seemed coherent and they didn't find anything in the car, they wouldn't have any reason to
But
hold
what
him.
I'm saying is,
No,
like, his
he's
mom
saying
should.
the
I'm
mom
saying
should,
like,
not the other.
But
like,
even
you
if
can't-
she had requested it, I don't know that they would have been able to. Like, if you are not a danger to yourself, like, their hands are kind of tied in what they can do. And I get what you're saying. It is surprising, and we don't know. Maybe she did ask and it's just not reported. But, yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah. I think I would have been there with the first roadside thing.
I think
Yeah.
I would have been there.
'Cause
Yeah,
I've
like
had so many
after the
shitty
girlfriend-
situations myself. I'm like, I don't want to have to
it's just like
my
after
kid to deal with that.
the girlfriend thing. If I would have found out that he wasn't home the next morning, I'd be like, we need to find where he is and go get him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't like wait for his call. I wouldn't. I mean, I guess calling like the auto shop, is a good idea. That was like a good start because that was at least closer. They could at least. But even
Mhm.
still, I'd be like, he's still there. Okay, I'll be there. In an
Yeah,
hour and a
or
half.
like, can you distract him, or what can you
Something.
do
Can
so I
he
can get
come?
to
Can
him?
he literally catch a ride with you back to your shop and chill in a fucking chair for 2 hours? Like, I'm just really bothered by it. And there's a disappeared episode about it, and you can hear his mom talking. And I know that I hate being like, oh, his mom should have done this and that. I just get like, I don't get it.
It's just, yeah.
If it
you're
was
not-
anybody I knew, it wouldn't even be a question. There's something wrong with you. What the fuck are you doing sitting in a car for 10 hours?
Right.
Yeah.
But, they may have also thought that if they got in the I'm just playing devil's advocate here. But, it's like, okay, well, he's about 3 hours away. If we get in the car to go get him and he finally decides that he's coming home,
We'll miss him.
we'll
and-
miss him, and then he's coming home to,
Yeah.
and like,
I'd be like, then
So-
Michael, stay home. I'm gonna go get our kid.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
it's
I
just-
agree.
I
Like,
just-
yeah. But it's,
This is why you don't have
You're-
kids. This is why.
I think I would have
question
been there
is-
at the noon one. I would have been like, why is he still sitting there 3 hours
Like,
later?
what the fuck?
Yeah.
And not answering the calls. I would have been in the car.
Yeah.
The first call that I made that he didn't answer, I think I would have been.
I would have. Yeah. The first thing when you said she just called, and I was like, I
He didn't
probably would have
answer.
gone.
Yeah.
I've learned in therapy I'm a problem solver.
Right.
You know what I mean? So my being
Yes.
patient in a situation like that is not my skill. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do we need to be doing? Where is he?
Yeah, how
Right.
can
I
I
can't
help
just
him
sit
get
here and
Yeah.
wait for him to get
And-
home unless he's calling me every 5 minutes saying, yeah, I'm on the way, like
Right.
communicating with me.
And
Yeah.
they're, you know, they're 3 hours away or something.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, what do you do? Like, you've talked to him. He sounds coherent. The police are telling you that he's coherent. He's fine. There's no reason that he can't drive himself. And also, I mean, he's in college. He's 18. He's an adult. If he doesn't want to come home, he doesn't have to. They can't make him. Like, technically, they shouldn't have even made him call his mom, you know?
I
Like,
know.
that was
I
kind
just
of
think I
going
would have
above and
asked as like a
beyond.
favor. I would have been like, please, is there like anything that you can do
Right.
until I get there?
Yeah.
Like something, because I'm worried and two of his friends have called me, his freaking friend and his girlfriend, saying they're worried about
Right.
him. Like, I'm really worried. And I don't know. She spoke briefly with Bryce, saying he needed to get himself something to eat, get back on the road. He said he would. After Bryce spoke with his mom, the deputies left. They're like, okay, he seems fine. They're like confident that he's okay to make it home. He left his girlfriend's house at 11:30 p.m. He ran out of gas at 9 a.m. in Buttonwillow, and he's just been chilling in Buttonwillow for 13 fucking hours and is still 3 hours away from his parents' house.
Wow.
Yeah. A few hours later, Karen gets a call from the saint of all saints, Christian.
Oh, Christian.
He's an angel.
Good
He's an angel.
man.
He calls Karen to tell her that he just left work and he decided to drive down where he saw Bryce earlier. And guess who he fucking sees sitting on the side of the goddamn road? Still
In his car.
Still in his car.
And what time is this now?
And so that was like in the evening time. That was
Right.
like 6 p.m. So he's like, bro, your son is still here. I don't know what the fuck is happening. He's way too nice of a guy to say that. He'd be like, ma'am, I'm really worried about your son that's still here. So Saint Angel sent from God is like, I'm going to do you a solid and I'm going to follow Bryce onto the freeway and I'm going to follow him for like 30 miles to make sure he goes the direction that he's supposed to be
Wow.
going.
Wow.
I know, seriously. Christian, the auto store guy, is a goddamn gift from God who deserves the day of splendor for his good deeds for this family. Guy at least deserves a raise or something.
That's
Seriously.
above and beyond.
Yeah.
Seriously. So Christian follows him for like 30 minutes and then he calls Karen and he's like, hey, I followed him. He left. He's on his
I'm
way."
just kind of curious, like, what the interaction between Christian and Bryce was that
Yeah.
he convinced Bryce to get on the road.
Well, everyone that like talked to him that saw him on the side of the road said that he was just, they were like, what are you doing? And he'd just be like, I don't know. And they'd be like, okay, so
Your parents
Are
are
you
talking
gonna-
to
okay,
us. Your
bye. Like,
parents
I don't
want
know.
you.
I think maybe it was just like, hey, so you're still here. I'm going to follow you. And he was just like, okay. Like he,
So-
just like
that's
he just,
so weird.
so he's like, hey, followed him for 30 minutes. He's actually, going the right direction. He calls the mom and says that. At 11 p.m., he gets more gas and a drink at the gas station. And he's actually talking to his parents this whole time. He's calling them. He's like, hey, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. On August 30th at 1:50 in the morning. So this started August 27th. That was the day he broke up with his girlfriend. So he's
Jesus.
essentially been like in a car for 2 days.
Yeah.
At 1:50 in the morning, Bryce called his parents, tell his mom that he couldn't say for sure where he was, but he was using his GPS and it said that he would arrive at the house at 3:25 in the morning.
That's still 2 hours away. And he's been driving for how many fucking hours?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
Okay.
Bryce called his parents again at 2:09, so like literally 20 minutes later, and he's like, I'm way too tired to drive. I'm gonna get off the road and I'm gonna sleep. At this point, he'd been awake for 48 fucking hours, so Karen was like, yeah, you should probably get some sleep.
I see now this
Is where
this
you
is
say,
where
no, you shouldn't
I
pull over. I'm gonna come get you.
Yes. Well, I would
Yeah.
say yes, you need to pull over, but you pull over, get some rest. Your father and I are on our way. But then he didn't know where he was. But if he had
But
his
if he could-
GPS,
Yeah, but like
the
I
GPS
think
should have
he
been
just
able
gave
to.
like a quick call, like, hey, I'm not really sure where I am, but like according to the GPS, I'll be there at 3:30. If he would have kept driving, I'm sure he would have been like, oh, there's a sign. I'm actually in blah blah
Right,
blah. But I think
right.
he was just like, hey, I'm in the car driving. It says I'll be there at 3:30. His mom's like, okay, cool. So Bryce called his parents, 2:09's like, I'm gonna pull over, take a nap. He's been awake 48 hours. And again, his mom is like, yeah, pull over. You need to get some sleep. He did not pull over. He drove for another hour and a half to a place called Castaic Lake. So the town of Castaic is located right off of Interstate 5, roughly 90 miles north of Laguna Niguel. So he was like about an hour and a half. Not an hour and a half. He was I was thinking 90 minutes. 90 miles north of home. He was like right there.
Yeah.
So when his parents hear the doorbell ring at 8 o'clock in the next morning, 8 o'clock in the next morning, they're like, oh, sweet, he's finally fucking here after driving for 2 days. Nay, nay, sweet parents.
No.
It is the police
I was gonna say.
saying, hello, we found his car completely destroyed at the bottom of a fucking hill. And
Oh,
like he's not in it. And, like
God.
we don't know what's going on. Bryce's car had been found abandoned at Castaic Lake off of an access road to a state recreation area. It had plummeted down a 25-foot embankment before smashing onto the road. The vehicle was overturned. You can see pictures, we'll probably post them. It's like on its passenger side, and you can just see from like the weight of it that it like compressed itself. The back window had been broken out, but Bryce was nowhere to be found. It was obviously a super violent crash. If Bryce was in the car, he had probably been dazed by the impact, but the investigators didn't believe that he was seriously injured in the accident. There was only a little bit of blood on the passenger seat headrest and also some on the back seat, which they think is from him crawling into the back seat and then kicking the back window out and making it out the back of the car. So no serious injuries. All of Bryce's belongings, including his ID, cell phone, wallet, and laptop, were still in the car, but there was still no sign of Bryce. They also found some clothes in the trunk of the car, and there was a bag in the back seat that had been opened and was like rifled through. A huge search of the area took place the same day his car was found. Dozens of deputies scoured the land surrounding the crash site and the shore of Castaic Lake, while helicopters conducted aerial searches. Volunteers, rescue teams, search dogs, and even police divers. They had a giant area to search. The Castaic Lake recreation area covered 7 square miles, which is a lot to fucking try and
Search.
look for a person on foot.
Yeah.
And the ruggedness of the terrain made it not super easy. The Santa Clarita Valley Search and Rescue Team arrived Saturday to assist in the search, and they spent 10 hours combing through the area, but they found nothing. However,
Oh no.
cars traveling on the freeway can exit onto Lake Hughes Road, which leads to a hill up to the Castaic Lake recreation area. Every car traveling up the hill is to pass by a surveillance camera that takes a photograph of each car's license plate. At 2:15 a.m., 7 minutes after he told his mother that he was too tired to continue driving, you can see him driving past the camera. At 4:29 a.m., he passed the camera a second time. But there are no cameras tracking cars as they come down the hill. So he went up the hill, at some point came back down, and then went up the hill a second time. And there's no like knowing how long he was up there because they can't see them driving back down. So officers were on the scene before 5:30 a.m. So again, 4:29 a.m. was the minute that he passed down the camera a second time.
Okay.
And officers were on the scene at 5:30, so an hour had passed. There was no sign of anybody near the car at that time. There were no witnesses to the crash, so police are obviously having to like put together what happened.
Did they see his face?
No, it just took a picture of his license plate.
Okay.
Okay, so assuming that he was in the car at 4:29, so they think that the crash occurred with him coming down the mountain, not going up it. Because 4:29 was the last point in time that he was seen. No, he was going up. That's when it caught him going up.
Going
at
up
4:29.
at 4:29.
Okay, never
Yeah.
mind. Sorry.
And if you watch the Disappeared episode, I'll find which one it was. The investigator goes to the top and like shows everything, which is important because tire tracks were visible at the top of the embankment that led down towards Castaic Lake. Based on the track pattern, law enforcement could tell that Bryce descended the embankment at a fairly high speed and made no effort to use the brakes. So he actually accelerated down the hill.
Okay.
And the reason I say it's important to see it in the episode of Disappeared is because if you are standing at the top, the lake looks much closer than it is, as if like you would go off the edge and land in the lake, when in fact you land on the road below.
Oh fuck.
Oh, okay. And so are
And
we
if it was
thinking
like
at
dark,
this? Okay, so we're thinking at this point that this was not necessarily. It was not an accident. He didn't take the wrong road or turn.
like-
that he intentionally.
yes.
Okay.
they at this point are like, okay, maybe
He was suicidal.
attempted to kill himself.
Mhm.
And I'm just remembering this, so I don't know if it's true. I'll have to look, but I feel like I remember hearing that was like refuted or questioned on if he actually like pushed on the accelerator. Like he definitely didn't push on the brakes, but like they're not sure.
You didn't speed up all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
I've heard both. So
Well, and if
either way,
you're
he didn't make a
going
point to stop.
right, but if you're going downhill, your car is
You might
naturally
not
going
need
to
to.
accelerate
Exactly.
anyway.
Exactly.
And if he wasn't like if the car say rolled forward and he was unconscious for some reason, the car might have still accelerated without him pushing the
Yeah.
accelerator. And if he wasn't competent to, like
Mhm.
maybe I mean he could have fallen asleep and kicked the car into gear while sleeping and rolled right on off.
There was a spot where canines were able to pick up his scent because canines are the best ever.
Mhm.
And they tracked a path that had suggested that Bryce left his car and walked to a nearby gas station where the scent was lost. So on September 4th, a jogger saw a bushfire near Castaic Lake, and firefighters responded to the bushfire call, which was determined to be a burning body.
Oh
The body was initially too badly burned to determine the person's sex or identity. They had no idea who it was, but obviously they're like, fuck,
Is this Bryce?
is this Bryce?
Yeah.
It was not. It was not Bryce.
Wow.
Like that's
Crazy.
horrifyingly coincidental.
I know.
Yeah.
If it's
Like a few
coincidental.
days. The coroner confirmed that it was the body of 35-year-old Lamondre Dion Miles. He had been shot several times in the torso, and then his body was dumped and set on fire. It's believed that his murder was due to an unpaid debt.
Okay, so they solved that one?
Yeah, it just was like it just
I
happened to
mean,
be at the same place.
man, stay away
Oh,
from this
la
area of California.
Yeah.
Stay in Butthole. You'll be
Yeah, man.
happier.
One day after this body was found, the search was called off. So, and that was just because they crazy canines and volunteers and all the things. They're like, there's literally nothing. Like, there's
Yeah,
there's
nowhere,
nothing
there's
to-
nothing to be found. It's fucking weird. They interviewed some of Bryce's friends and family, and once they determined that Bryce had purposely sped down the embankment and crashed into the road, obviously investigators were like, okay, well, he probably was suicidal, right?
Mhm.
His parents were like adamant, nope, he would never take his own life. This is never something he would do. Absolutely not, which I struggle so much with because all the time in these stories, there's always someone that says, like, absolutely not. But then
It comes
How
out,
do we
yeah.
know for sure?
you want to say, like, no, I know that person, but then, like,
But you
sometimes it's
don't.
just.
Yeah.
I've actually watched some videos of different people who have survived suicide attempts. One guy in particular, I'm sure you guys have seen him. He jumped off of the Golden Gate Bridge and
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about how like the minute he did it was like, what am I doing? But his father talks too about the fact that like he thought that maybe something was wrong, but every time he'd ask
You
his
don't think
kid,
it's like a suicide
you don't
wrong,
think
you
it's
think it's like
you think it's like
bad
angst
day
or
or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like
it's hard.
a lot of times people that are suicidal are trying to protect their loved ones
Yeah.
from knowing how much pain they're in,
Which is why they,
and
go
they
to-
don't share that. So it really can come as quite a surprise to
Mhm.
a lot of parents when it happens because you don't know. You
No.
don't, and like clearly people did not know what was going on in his head, like at all.
No, I mean, the people who were closest were worried, but nobody fucking listened to him.
Right.
If someone who loves the person that you love calls you and tells you something is wrong, please listen. And
Yeah.
especially if there's two
Mhm.
of them. Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know, like,
'Cause
how
two in the
I
same
just
day
in
in
the
the
same
same-
day. I don't even.
Like, not far from
And a lot
it's
can
upsetting.
change in 2 weeks. Like,
But yeah, that's what, yeah.
oh, he was just here 2 weeks ago and he was fine. Well, and even if he was there 2 weeks ago and appeared fine,
Doesn't mean
it doesn't mean he
anything.
was fine.
Yeah.
Like this kid obviously had a way of being able to convince those around him that he was okay. But okay people, even crazy college kids that, I mean, I did my fair share of binge drinking in college, but I was never drinking to the level that this kid was
Yeah.
drinking.
Same.
Like
not
that
in
in
college,
itself
but-
to me sounds like
Yeah.
a cry for help,
So they were adamant that he wouldn't take his own life, but obviously some of his friends in college weren't sure. When they interviewed them, they're like, he's been drinking a lot. He's been taking this weird ADHD medication. Like, he's just been acting really, really weird. If Bryce had been suicidal, his high drive speed, his eyes.
You sound like you're trying to say German.
His
Ice.
Spätzle. If Bryce had been suicidal, his high-speed drive down the embankment may have been a failed suicide attempt. It's possible that he was surprised to find himself relatively unharmed at the bottom of the ravine and was like, okay, well, guess
I'm kind of
gonna
surprised though
live
that
today."
you wouldn't like that you could survive that and not
Well, if he's
and be only
Yeah.
minor
It's
injuries.
weird. Yeah.
Does it say if they found like any blood
There was
or
some blood on the passenger seat and like a little bit in the back seat. But drops, like
Right.
enough for,
Right,
not like a
okay.
serious head wound or anything.
Right. Okay.
While some of the investigators believe that he had been suicidal, the fact that they had been able to locate his body forced them to consider other possible scenarios. Some thought that Bryce had chosen to just walk away from his life, which is kind of what I think happened.
Mhm.
It's just all the things leading up to it are just like really weird, and I really want to know what he was gonna say to his mom or like what happened.
Right.
It was a theory that his parents just refused to even contemplate. They were again adamant. They're like, he was happy, besides all the like I would have done this, blah blah blah, like he had a great life. He had a great relationship with his parents. His parents basically were like, she had just called them earlier that day saying like, yeah, I had these classes and it was really great. They just kind of
Right. And like we
Yeah.
don't even know like what his GPA was because like my thought was like, oh, maybe he was doing really bad. Maybe he was gonna fail
said he
out. But it
had,
was
like-
only like the first day of class.
Yeah, it was the first day of class. Every other years he had been like good student.
Right.
He was just like, I hate to say, like, he just kind of was like a kid everyone liked. You knew him, and like he just like had a good life. It wasn't really anything. I hate to say like nothing extraordinary, but
Right.
no
No
serious
nothing- yeah.
traumas, no like nothing like that. So, but the track that the bloodhounds found, they like I said, they picked up on Bryce's scent. It kind of sounds like he probably meant to go missing because the dogs were able to pick up his scent as it moved away from the crash site. They followed it down a dam on Castaic Lake and then continued down the roadway on top of the dam. Once they crossed over south to a spillway, this is all things that aren't really important.
But like, I mean, it
at a
just
truck
shows that he
stop.
was able to like walk
he walked
away
away
from the
to
crash.
a truck stop.
Now, I mean, I know that they said he was relatively uninjured, but like, could he have had like
A head injury?
Yeah, because I think about like Unknown White Male, which is one of my all-time favorite, just one of the best documentaries I've ever watched about this guy who was a successful
The
like
guy who
Wall
woke
Street
up
guy.
and was someone else that didn't
No.
know who he was.
Yeah, he woke up in Coney Island on the subway.
Yeah, you told us
and-
about that, I remember.
Yeah, and didn't know who he was. And because he didn't have any identification or anything on him, they like basically checked him into a mental hospital and he was there for 2 weeks. And he was just as a John Doe until somebody finally gave him like a paper to sign and he signed his name
Oh my god.
like automatically. But he didn't know who he was, and he had like found a number in his, I don't know, in his pocket or something, and called it, and it was the mom of like a girl he had had like a few dates with, and she had probably given him the number when she was
Weird, yeah.
staying there,
Yeah.
but the mom didn't know who he was, and then I don't know. It's interesting how like finally she was like Doug, and he's like, oh my god, like that's you know what I mean, like.
Oh my
Okay,
God,
that
that's
must
so
be who I
scary.
am. But that makes me wonder if like he got out of his car and maybe he didn't choose necessarily to intentionally disappear, but didn't know who he was. Like, is he sitting in an
I think
an
he chose
institution
to.
somewhere where like they just
I
don't
mean,
know
it's
who
possible.
I think this is a walk-in fail.
he is?
A what?
There's a thing called walk-ins, and it's when how do you describe
This is
it
the
without?
woo-woo.
Yeah, this is the
Did you ever
woo-woo.
watch the show Ghost Whisperer?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So there's a scene where so Jennifer Love Hewitt plays a medium who can actually like see and speak with ghosts, right? And in one of the seasons her husband dies. and but he's
Spoiler.
still spoiler
Just
alert.
kidding. It's like
But he's
85.
that show's been off the air for like
Yeah.
over a decade. Like I didn't even start watching it, I think, until it was off the air.
Yeah.
Anyway, her husband dies. But he's still kind of hanging around, but she's for whatever reason not seeing or hearing him or whatever. But then she comes upon an accident, and there is a guy who is like the EMTs are working on him, and she basically sees his spirit leave his body and cross over, and then her husband's like, okay, his soul or whatever gets into this guy's body. And so that's kind of what a walk-in
Yeah.
in a very like
Loose.
That's probably the best
way,
way to describe
but
it.
that's what a walk-in
that's
is.
what
Someone's
walk-in is.
spirit leaves the body, and then a different
And spirit,
spirit
yeah,
goes
walks
into the
in.
body.
Yeah.
So then, is the guy alive as Jennifer Love Hewitt's husband now?
So
Does he live?
So in the show, the guy that's on the whatever wakes up and lives, but he doesn't at the time remember who he is. He thinks that he has amnesia.
Oh
He
my
thinks that
God.
he doesn't know who he
Yeah.
is, and then through several episodes and whatnot,
One
then there's
involving an underwater
right.
tank, and it's just
yeah.
so,
Oh,
like,
you watched it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I used to
Um,
watch it when I was working, when I
yeah.
was doing my Etsy.
Well,
Well, and then it was
there-
on all day.
yeah, yes.
So I just keep it
It
on.
was when for a long time, I didn't have like any kind of cable, and it was before like
Yeah.
Roku and all of the different streaming channels. And so I literally had like 5
It
channels.
was like Ion.
yeah,
used
it
to
was
be on
Ion, and
I think.
they would play it all the time. And
Yeah.
so I got real caught up on that show. And I
Oh,
do
I
have
would
to
get caught
say,
up in
Jennifer
Criminal
Love
Minds.
Hewitt, like that bitch can cry on cue because she cries in every
Dude.
single one of those episodes.
And her hair is always top notch.
Oh my God. She has amazing hair. And she's like super tiny and has big boobs. Like
Yeah.
I can
Mm.
see why she was like kind of a whatever, teen idol-ish kind
Yeah.
of thing. But anyway, that's basically what
So that's like
a
if the
walk-in
walk-in
is.
didn't ever come. So that soul's gone, and then there was nothing left.
like just a kind of a
Shell.
body with a shell.
Yeah. Because I mean, in the
But I don't even
woo-woo-
know how would that work if there's a body with no soul in it.
Or it could. Oh, that's a good point.
Isn't that just a dead person? Like a cadaver.
No, because the body is still alive. Like that's what I'm saying. If it was a
Oh.
failed walk-in, though, it could have been a walk-in who, like in
That's
the
true,
case
then-
of Jim,
Because usually
that-
walk-ins are when you're younger,
right?
or if somebody's one way, and then they kind of have usually a near-death experience,
Right.
and they come back completely different.
And that's how Doug, the guy from Unknown White Male, is a completely different person, completely different personality, interests,
That is so weird.
all of that.
That is so weird.
And he talked, one of the, I think the most amazing lines is that, when he first had his accident, his biggest fear was not remembering who he was. And his biggest fear now, because he likes who he is as a person, and he's got or had an amazing girlfriend or wife and a new career as a photographer. And like now his biggest fear was that he would remember
oh
who
god,
he was,
that's
which is just
intense.
fascinating to me.
That's
like
insane.
but anyway, so I mean, I guess it's possible that maybe like he just didn't, but he's a very distinctive looking kid with his fire red hair. So I mean, I think if he had been picked up by police and not known who he was and taken,
Yeah.
with the searching
Yeah.
that was done for him, you would think that he
Yeah.
like they would have been like, oh, hey, we have this kid here.
Is there any more?
a little
bit more?
So,
You can tell our theories.
investigators believe that it was possible that Bryce, after crashing his car, made his way through the park and ended up at a nearby truck stop. That's obviously what the dogs had found. If he had decided to hitch a ride with a long-haul trucker, he would have been gone before the search for him had even started.
Right.
While it was possible, there wasn't like a logical reason that that was the thing, is like there's no real logic behind it.
There's
like
no real logic
seems-
through the whole story.
Right. Like it seems like he was fine and then he just wasn't. And like nobody really knows why. Nobody knows what happened. There were like no,
I don't know. I think that
I mean, except for the drugs, but like, why
Right.
did he even start taking? I don't even know.
why did he start drinking like he was drinking out of the blue? Why was he taking things? Now, I mean, meth and amphetamines in general can make you paranoid. They can make you all kinds of, whatever. But I think what makes the most sense is because there is no logic to it, is that, yeah, maybe he intended to kill himself. And then when he didn't succeed in that, was just like, because he clearly didn't want to go home. He clearly did not want to have and was scared to
Yeah.
have whatever
It was like he
conversation
started
with his
going that way
mom.
like he was supposed to. He's like, I know I need to go there, so I'm just gonna go. And then halfway through, he was like,
He really didn't want to go.
I don't
He
know.
didn't want to tell them whatever it was.
But why would he still go there at 11:30 at night? Like, that's a weird. It's not
Wait,
like
to his girlfriends, or
he left his girlfriend's and
Right.
headed towards his parents' house at 11:30 at night.
right? And
Like, if there was
and
something,
then had said there was something I was gonna I think maybe that was the intention. But when he had to stop,
I think he flipped.
I think there are some things you guys need to know.
okay,
I was gonna say, is there more before?
There is a little bit more. This is an interesting little tidbit. A few days before he broke up with his girlfriend, he also gave away his Xbox, which is for a 19-year-old boy, a big deal, and a pair of diamond earrings that his mother had given him, and just started like giving his things away.
That's definitely a suicidal
What's
sign.
weird though is like the way it happened. Like it's like the order that everything happened in was just like really strange because everything was fine. Again, everything was fine, and then
Right. But they do say that people who are suicidal, when they make the decision that they're going to do it, that there's a period of, what is it called? Like pink not sundowning. It's pink something. Where
sure.
I'm gonna have to look this up. It's like once they make that decision, they are kind of overcome with this feeling of relief. And so they have a couple of days where they're kind of happy and like, okay, I've made this decision. I think it's called pink clouding.
And then
I think he's been miserable for a very long time, and he's just putting on a show for his parents and friends. But I think it started with the drinking, and then the drugs, and then I think that really fucked up his brain chemistry even more, with probably being really depressed. Because it sounds like he was like, I can't do this anymore with my girlfriend. I can't do this anymore with my
he was like saying goodbye to
parents.
everybody. Basically.
Yeah, and then when he didn't,
well, yeah, that makes sense. That could be why he was going to go see his parents, was like to say goodbye to them if his plan was just to kill himself.
yeah,
Right.
and then I think he went with a trucker.
Yeah, so it is pink clouding is what
Pink clouding.
Pink
that
clouding.
is. I have heard of that.
And then this article that I'm looking at is in regards to like recovery of addicts, but they talk about it's a feeling of euphoria and elation. You feel confident and excited. Think of it as a honeymoon phase. It doesn't last forever, and coming out of this phase can have a negative impact. Suddenly, you finally begin to feel really, really good. Your eyes open to the great things in life, and you look forward to every day with enthusiasm and hope. But it talks about feelings of euphoria, a hopeful outlook, a calm or peaceful state of mind.
I had suicidal thoughts as a teen, but I
never had that.
I realized I was thinking them, and I was like, okay, I gotta tell my mom.
Yeah.
Again, there was no really logical reason besides like there was obviously something wrong, but nobody really knew like entirely what it was.
Yeah.
He had no legal trouble. He was a good student. He was great at college, no problems at home, great relationship with his girlfriend. He always maintained a close relationship with his parents. They supported him in every single thing that he did. Even if Bryce had gone to the truck stop, that didn't necessarily mean he was walking away from his life. While it didn't appear that he had been badly wounded, it's possible that he was suffering from a head injury and wasn't thinking clearly.
And no sleep.
And
there's nothing saying that if he did hitch a ride, especially if he didn't know who he was, that he wasn't taken advantage of by whoever.
Well, that's what I was
picked
just
him
going to
up.
say was like he may have just walked towards the lights of a truck stop trying to get like some help, and then something happened to him. I don't know. It just seems like it's like not open and shut because all the facts are weird, but open and shut in the sense of like obviously something was wrong, and then I think he was either suicidal or was suicidal, and then it didn't work, so then he decided he didn't want to be found. But like how odd would it be to find out that he was like murdered?
Well, yeah,
which is a possibility.
Or that he went somewhere else to commit suicide. Like,
I mean,
try again and never, and it was the connections weren't made. I mean, if he by any, if he had been able to find a way to cross state lines, it is possible that he
Oh,
died
yeah.
and is in a morgue somewhere or is buried unidentified or is living somewhere as a completely different person, not realizing who he is, because we have such jurisdictional problems with
Mhm.
law enforcement being able to share data across state lines.
Again, if it was a head injury, he walked away from his car without any of his belongings, no money, no wallet, no ID, no anything. No
And
phone.
he's not going to get far without those things.
Yeah.
The initial search took about 2 weeks. They said the official search for Bryce was scaled back, like I said before, because they basically searched everything and they couldn't find anything.
Well, and like those kind of searches, even with volunteers, take an incredible amount of money.
Yeah.
And
And
they
time
won't,
and-
and time, and they won't keep them going
No.
forever, especially if they haven't found any leads
More
that can
evidence,
take
yeah.
them any farther.
With his bright red hair and his blue eyes, he would definitely stick out in a crowd.
I mean, looking at his
Tall,
picture,
ginger.
like
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
ginger hair
He
is
would
really
stick
striking.
out for sure. Police actually received numerous calls from people who like swore that they saw him, but investigators were not able to ever confirm any of them as being legitimate.
So the last known sighting of him
was
Christian, and then the last known sighting of the vehicle
was at the bottom of the hill.
right. Because
But the last time he talked to his mother was after Christian had left him. Like, because he was calling saying, yeah,
Right.
I'm coming, yeah, I'm coming.
I mean, hypothetically, anything could have happened to him between the time that he left Christian and because you can't see his face.
And why did he go down the hill and then go back up? Was he like thinking about the suicide and then
And then change his mind and then change it again? Like,
Yeah.
And he told his mom he was pulling over to sleep. And
but then he kept going.
He just kept giving the excuses.
Well, and it
to
doesn't
not
make
get
sense
there.
that if he was 3 hours away and then he was driving for several hours and he was still an hour and a half away. Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, when he called his mom to say, okay, I'm probably, I don't know where I am, but the GPS says I'm going to be home at like 3 something. Why wasn't she like, Bryce, where the hell are you? Like, you have been driving. Like, you should
Yeah,
have been
well-
home this time ago. And again, I agree with you. Like, I'm not criticizing the parents. They were
no.
going off the best information that they had at the time. And, they spoke with him. They know what he was like. And he was obviously doing a good enough job to convince both his parents and the police that he was fine.
So there is also, we have to consider that he is not alive.
Yes.
He's been gone for 7 years and there has not been a single confirmed sighting of him anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 years. 8 years now. Is it 8? 2020.
Yeah, 13 to 20.
Yeah, 8 years. You're right.
So, yeah, and with that hair, you feel like there would have been like
So,
confirmed sightings.
yeah, it says,
Yeah.
if he would have chosen to run off, start a new life, it's hard to believe that he'd be able to keep his identity a secret for very long. Like that, and his information has been entered into all the national missing person databases, and his teeth and his fucking fingerprints and DNA and everything is all on file. So if anything ever happens, they can check it, and there's been nothing.
So do you think he's dead?
I don't know what I think. I don't think some mysterious thing happened to him. I think he's either dead or he started a new life, but those are two like very different answers.
They're very different. And if he's dead, well, if he is deceased, do you think that it was by his own hand or something happened to him?
I think it's weird they haven't found his body. And they searched in the lake for like days and tons of divers and found like no evidence of anything.
Oh, to see like if he had like walked into the lake.
Yeah.
Or...
And we'll post the missing person flyer on Instagram. But Bryce Laspisa has been missing since August 30th of 2013. At the time, he was 5'11". He weighed around 170 pounds. He had bright blue eyes and bright red hair, which he normally kept very short. He was last seen wearing a blue and white checkered shirt, a pair of white cargo shorts, and white Nike sneakers with red trim. He has a large tattoo on his right shoulder of a bull's head and his birthday in Roman numerals. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is still actively searching for Bryce's whereabouts. And if you have any information, you can call them at 323-890-5500.
That's crazy.
I think he left from the gas station.
So do you
Because
think
it's
he's
near
alive?
Nevada. Nevada's kind of no man's land in a lot of spots. You
Yeah.
could start over in a small little town.
Well, and there are a lot of like in Nevada and
New Mexico,
New
like that
Mexico, there are a lot
whole-
of tent like
Could have gone to Mexico. Like,
yeah, could have gone to Mexico.
I think he really, since he couldn't kill himself, it didn't work. I think he was just like, I can't. He just pieced out. Well, if he also like fell in the car and he was on 48 hours of sleep, and that makes your
40 hours of
body
no sleep.
kind of drunk. So when you get
Mhm.
in an accident, you are loose instead of
Right. Yeah, that's true.
like whatever you call it. I
Right.
can't think the word of. Yeah.
When
So
instead of tensing up, like
Yeah.
I did when I got rear-ended and I saw the bitch coming in my rear view,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, she's gonna hit me!" And as soon as she did, and I had gone, ugh.
Yeah.
yeah.
35 miles an hour when you're stopped is actually a pretty heavy hit.
Yeah, I don't know. That's Bryce Laspisa.
I'm
Mm.
surprised I've never heard of this man.
I remember
Well, it's-
hearing it for the first time being like,
You know, it's funny. After you said you've not heard this, and I'm like, no. And then you got to some part, and I was like, wait a minute. I think I have, I think I have seen that disappeared, or I've seen
Mm.
something, but it
You
didn't
both
register.
have watched all the disappear. I always
Mhm.
forget.
We watched all the Evil Lives Here.
well, I did. Disappeared started this conversation. So
Yeah.
I had, like,
Disappeared-
a secret love with Disappeared.
Disappeared started this podcast.
Well, and I was watching it and I saw Bryce's face on one of the episodes because I remember reading about the story and being like, what the fuck? And I saw him
That's
and
I'm
like,
surprised I haven't heard it.
I could pick him out of a fucking crowd. So then I saw his face in the Disappeared episode, which his parents are in.
Right.
And it's just, it's sad because they're like, we're hearing everyone say, like, you're hearing everyone say, like, you should have gone and gotten him,
Oh,
or like, you
yeah.
should have, all the like, should have, whatever. And I mean, as much as I think, like, I do feel like things probably should have been handled differently. Like, his poor parents are just.
Hindsight is
Yeah.
2020.
I mean,
you
yeah.
know, like
Yeah,
it's,
we can
it's
all
easy
make our
at this
judgments,
point.
but
Now,
we don't know the full.
right. We don't know the full conversations that they had. We don't know what he was telling them. And again, they were his parents. You want to assume they obviously were concerned, but then they're talking to other people like the police.
Like, I could probably convince my mom to not come get me somewhere.
Yeah.
I could probably be
Yes.
like, no, seriously,
I'm
like,
fine. I
it's
will
fine.
be on my
I
way.
swear. Like, I think I
Yeah.
could convince someone to
Yeah.
get me.
And then especially if the police were there telling my mom, she seems fine. She, so it's
Yeah.
like I don't think it's fair to criticize them, and like you said, or like whoever.
It's just frustrating to see how it happened because there's nothing to do about it.
Because you're
Right.
just, yeah, it's just.
There's
And you
no way
feel
to
like-
help. There's just like
And when you lay out the whole story, it's a lot easier to see
Yeah.
where those markers were in time where you feel like something could have been
Mhm.
done. But when it was all playing out, and he keeps saying, I'm going to be there in 3 hours. And so you're like, okay, we just have to wait the next 3 hours. And then 3 hours later, it's like, oh, well, now I'm going to be home in 3 hours,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I don't know. I think that he did try to kill himself.
Mhm.
I think that part was intentional. I think he was probably pretty surprised when he didn't, or had a head injury to the point where he didn't know who he
What the
was,
fuck?
what had happened. Like, he just wakes up in this car and is like, okay, well, now I'm gonna,
Yeah. Now I gotta get out. Your
stumble away.
instincts
But
kick
I
in to
don't know.
survive.
Right. But I don't know that I necessarily believe that he's still alive and living it up somewhere.
Yeah, I really struggle with. I either think I feel like he's either dead or is in a tent city somewhere, or like some.
Mm.
He doesn't.
I-
If he's still alive, I don't think he knows who he is.
I don't think he like exists
Yeah.
in the real world. Like he's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like he's, I don't know. It's just sad.
Well, and the other thing is, we sit here and we talk about like he's so distinctive. Like you could pick him out of a crowd, but if he spends several days traveling, he doesn't have any money. He doesn't, he gets dirty and smelly, and all
Yeah.
of those different things. Like people tend to ignore and look past
Yep. I
the
was just gonna
homeless
say.
population.
Yeah.
And so he may be living invisibly and out there somewhere.
Yeah.
I want to know what you guys think happened. DM us
Yeah.
and tell us
Tell
what
us
you
your
think
theories.
happened.
But
It's just sad.
I mean, I hope he's alive.
I
do.
know. I hope he's alive.
And I hope he is okay.
I hope he's pulling it into the wild, where he's just like
Yeah.
off for a few years,
Yeah,
wanting
but
to live
that
his
didn't
best
end
life.
well.
That-
Into the Wild did not end well
but like
at all.
he intended for it to end well. His
You know-
intention was to survive.
Have you guys read that book?
I've
Have
not
you read
seen
it?
the movie.
We had to read it in
Right
high
now,
school.
It's just a beautiful soundtrack.
Bren Love
I-
really likes that movie.
Eddie Vedder
Yes.
sound. Oh my god, it's beautiful. I'm obsessed with that soundtrack.
I didn't see the movie. I read the book for book club, and it was so interesting. Like, our group was polarized down the middle, like, about feeling whether Chris was a victim or if he was like an arrogant asshole that like died because it was so because I was definitely in the camp that I thought it was a beautiful story and that it was so sad, and I felt so bad for his parents, and that, like, that he tried to prepare, thought he was prepared, and like he was so close to being
Home.
able to survive,
Able to come finish his,
and
Yeah.
so I just
You have to
felt it
watch
was
the
like
movie.
really tragic, and then everybody else is like, no, he was like an arrogant asshole that
I
thought he
never got
could,
the vibe that he was an arrogant.
know,
I
that
never
he
got
could-
that vibe either.
But I watched the
But-
movie before I read the book, and I feel like that probably influenced my. We had to read it in high school. In our last English
so you
class.
watched the movie first instead of reading it.
Well, yeah, I didn't even know that there was a book because my mom told me about the movie, and she's like, "You have to watch this. It's an amazing movie." And I just fell in love with it. And then in high school,
It's funny. I didn't watch it
Alexander
because
Supertramp.
I don't like Emil, whatever
Emil
his name
Hirsch.
is. Yes. Emil
Not
Meat
Emil
Pockets.
Meat Pockets. We love her.
I'm just not. I'm just not a huge fan of him. Anyway, I should say.
Bella's in
And,
it too, isn't she?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
is. And
And
I think
Miss-
I tried to watch it, but he to me wasn't Chris, or because obviously I'd seen pictures of the real Chris, and he just didn't seem like that to me, and so I didn't watch it because, like I said, I really loved that book, and
We-
made me very sad.
In Miss Hovren's English class, it was our final assignment was to read the book, and then in the last few days of school, we watched the movie, and that was like one of my favorite English classes of all time
That
because
so just makes me feel old.
I
Because in my English class, it was fucking Lord of the Flies.
Oh
Oh,
dear.
I
Well, I
hated
think
that
I think
book.
that was
And
just
and
that's what I'm
that's it.
saying is
I
it
don't like
wasn't
that
a
book at all.
curriculum thing. It was like this was my last English class as in high school, and our English teacher was like, I want to do something like really different. And it was
Sounds like they give a shit.
That
That's
is-
awesome.
that's
yeah,
awesome.
I loved Mrs. Hovren.
My senior year teacher was Mrs. Hetty, who was married to. So my high school had like a main principal and then 3 like
Nice.
they weren't
Sub.
vice principals. They were all principals, but my high school was
Yeah,
huge.
Congress.
I was gonna say,
Like,
is that a big old?
We
fucking-
went. There were 7 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, funneled into
Wow.
1 high school. My
Holy
graduating
hell.
class was 420, and when they sent that off, somebody in the crowd was like, "Woo!" But Mrs. Hetty was married to one of the principals, and our senior year, like, she was done. I think she was getting ready to retire, and so it was like, I don't feel. I remember one day she was like, "I don't feel like teaching today." Movie. I just.
Oh my
Hell
god.
yeah!
That was great. My
Hell
senior year,
yeah.
I'm like, don't worry, man. We don't want to either.
I'm just gonna sign off with my favorite saying from Mrs. Hovren. This is what I remember from her in high school because now it's all coming back together. I loved her. And every day when we would leave school, she would yell out the door and she would say, "Remember who you are and what you represent."
Oh,
And now I remember it all the time. And I'm friends with her on Facebook, and you'll see students like post it. They'll be like, "Remember when you used to say, 'Remember who you are and what you represent'?"
well, we have been struggling for a good like sign off. I think that should be the 3
Remember who
AC sign
you are
off.
and what you represent. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It's one of the things I always remembered. I loved and I hated her when she was my English teacher as a freshman, but as a senior.
If she ever listens, I want her to know that Emily is like legit tearing up, which is
I
hysterical
love
because
her.
she
Well,
is
and
not an
she-
emotional person.
But one of the other things I loved from the class was I was obviously very outspoken, along with 2 other
You?
girls. I know.
No.
Oh my god, what?
And we got like this ridiculous nickname that we were the 3 queens of English class. And so on the last day of school, there's a picture of me and the other 2 girls with a little glass of like sparkling cider that one of the other students had bought for us as one of the queens of English class. Oh my god.
So you were already practicing for the three
Maybe I was.
3 ladies.
It was because we just never kept our mouths shut. And I was always the one that asked questions. So it was like
I'm sure
me-
she probably.
I loved
I feel like she probably enjoyed your questions.
yeah, she was a good teacher. Remember who you are and what you represent.
We love
We
you.
love you.
Okay. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. We put out new episodes every single Wednesday, and if you're impatient like me, be sure to become a Patreon where you can get your episodes early each week. For as little as $5 a month, you not only significantly support the production of this podcast, but you'll also get ad-free episodes in addition to them being early. For pictures, videos, and links related to this episode, be sure to check out our Instagram at threesacrime. And for more information, go to threesacrime.com.